Welcome to EngTech Media, your gateway to engineering and technology. Subscribe now for more innovative content.
So over here, we're going to be looking at creating your component and instance. In our previous slide, we talked about components, but here I'm going to be looking at components and instance. So I'm just going to draw my frame. So this frame, I'm going to use it to create a button. So I'm just going to give that a name as button. As you can see, so it's always advisable for you to name all your designs so that you can easily know which of the design you are working on. So over here, I'm just going to give it a color so it can be differentiated so you can see what we are working on. I'll just give it a color. Alright, so I prefer blue color. So here is our corner radius. So I want the corner radius to be 5. So you normally come with 0. So that's the rounded corner. The corner I want the corner to be rounded. So let me zoom that in so that you see what I'm talking about. So the corner is now rounded. That's round corner. So I'm going to go over and put our write-up. So over here, I'm going to type out button, and so I'll try to reduce that a little. So I just go over to a right-hand bar and just reduce the font size. So I reduce that so I can fit into our button size. Okay, so as you can see, we can see what we have in there. I'm going to just give it a color, give it a conspicuous color, give it a white color so that to be visible. So as you can see, I can move this around, I can move the frame around, and the write-up, which is our font, the write-up button will still be following the frame around because that's our framework. So once the write-up is inside, so it's going to be moving around. So now I'm going to draw another frame. So this frame, consider this to be like an app. Let's say you are creating an app. Okay, so I'm just going to duplicate that. Use Ctrl D on your keyboard. So I want to drag that in so that they will be on the same size, the same level. I'm going to have to duplicate it again the second time. You can use Ctrl D on your keyboard. And the purpose of this is to show you how instance work, right? So we are going to create our component and then our instance. So I'm just going to have to duplicate that. Sorry, I was trying to duplicate that. I think supposed to hit on your Ctrl D on your keyboard. When you hit on Ctrl D, you will drag it automatically because I've already duplicated it. So I hit on Ctrl D my second time. So now I use my mouse to drag it. Okay, so you measure they're in the same level. Alright, so I'm just going to have to delete that. Now if we want to use our component, so this is what you're supposed to do if you want to design. So we're going to be duplicating, but now we want to just have one complete component in the sense that just only one button will control all the entire button that we have on our app. So you go to your frame. You see this 4 dotted line you are seeing there. All right, once you click on your button, you click on your frame because you're already working on a frame. You see it said create component. Once you click on create component, you see that your button is now having a color, a purple color. So this shows that you can see the component is close to the button. That means this is already a component. So this is not longer a normal button or a normal frame that you created. You see that it's now a component. So you go to your assets. If you go to your asset, you see this button there that you have created. So once you go to your assets, now it's going to display That's to prove a point that this is our first component we are having on this account, so the button is there. So that button now can be made use of in any way you want, because you know your app is supposed to have one particular button and all the buttons are supposed to have the same color. So over here you can just go ahead and pick the button from there and use it to design anything you want to design. As you can see, the button is there. So don't forget, go to your assets. From there you have access to your component, so the component we just created. Alright, so that's the component we just created. So I'm just going to have to delete that. So now I'm going to show you how you're going to make use of this component to create instance. So this duplicate we are seeing now, you can see, let me zoom in so you can see the difference. Now this button you are seeing is our component. Now the one below it is our instance, because it's a duplicate of our component. So every changes we make our component will automatically affect the other button. So our component automatically affect our instance. Okay. So I'm just going to drag that in to fit in. So you have to make sure they are in the same position, the same line. So I'll double click. So use your Ctrl D to double click, then you drag it. So now here we are going to make changes to our component. Alright, these are our component. We are going to make changes to it, and you're going to see the effect on our instances. Now consider all these buttons, they are our instance now. Alright, these are our instance because they are a duplicate of our component. So I'm going to go over to our component. I want to change the color. You can see that all the instances, all the button, which is the instances which are duplicate from our component, I just only need to edit our components, then all our instances will be affected alongside. So I can also go to our corner radius and remove it, make it 0. Corner radius is 5, I'll make it 0. That means I don't want it to be, I want the corner radius to be 0. So I want to do that, and you will see that all the corner radius will actually be 0. There's no rounded corner here. That's because we just changed the corner radius of our component. So all our instances, these 3 instances now, will be affected. So I can go back and add it. I give it 5. So you are going to see a difference now. If I zoom it again, you will see that it has, you now have border radius. Now you will see that the border is rounded. So any changes that I make here, I would like to make 1 or 2 changes so that you can see. So once I delete this write-up, it's going to affect all our instance. You'll see that. Just any change I make on our component, the whole instance will be affected, because the reason why this is important is because you don't want to create an app that will have different size of button, different color. So they need to have one color. In case you have 100 pages, just your component will be able to change all the colors in your instance, and they are going to be on the same size. Everything going to be the same. So all the changes I'm making on this component now is being reflected. So if I decide to drag that to the middle, you see that it's being affected by all our 3 instances will be affected alongside. Now I'm going to show you how you will be able to disconnect from the component. So for example, I'm going to make use of, as an example, this is our first instance. I'll go over to color. I will change the color. Because I did this one separately, you can see that in terms of color is already disconnected from our component. You can see, because I changed the color, is automatically disconnected from our component, but the right up click and the rounded corner is still being affected because we haven't disconnected that. So it's only the color that we disconnected from our component. So if I go over to our component and change the color, you see that all of us are affected, but except this particular first instance. Our first instance is not affected because we have already disconnected the color. But if you change it right up inside our component, it still affects it. Okay. So if we change the color, if we change the color of our component, it's going to affect others except this instance because we have already changed it. So I'm going to go over to show you something. So the corner radius now, I'm going to remove the corner radius. I'll remove it, take it to 0. You will see that these are our first component, our first instance that has different color will be affected. So let me zoom that in so that you see the difference. You can see that the corner radius has disappeared because I remove it from our, so it's still being affected because the only thing that is disconnected now is the color. All right, it's only the color from our component that doesn't affect this particular instance because I've disconnected the color out of it by making changes to a particular instance. Means that you have that change you have made to that instance automatically disconnect that instance from your component. So over here, let me zoom that so I will show you something. So this is how you detach instance. So what to is control alternate B, control alternate plus B. So this is how you disconnect everything. If I click on that, it automatically disconnect everything from our component. Everything. You can see that it's now called just button. Okay, just normal button. It's no longer instance. So these are components. It was formerly instance. Now it's not a normal button. It doesn't have the effect. The effect doesn't work on it anymore. So this is how you create your component.